In animal behavior, there's a concept known as imprinting. Imprinting happens when an animal's brain etches another individual into the deepest layers of its nervous system, a layer that not even sleep can erase. When that happens, you become the very compass their brain uses to navigate the world. Today, we're going over 5 scientific signs that your dog has imprinted on you. These signs have been proven through fMRI scans, analysis of stress hormones like cortisol in their fur, and breakthrough experiments that completely changed how scientists view the human-dog bond. Let's see how many of these you recognize. 1. Always looking to you before taking action. Have you ever noticed that whenever your dog encounters something strange, the very first thing they do isn't stepping forward or running away, but turning their head to look at you? That is no coincidence. And it's not something just any dog will do with just anyone. In 2012, researcher Isabella Merola and her colleagues at the University of Milan placed an electric fan with fluttering ribbons right in the middle of a room, novel enough to catch their attention, yet ambiguous enough that it wasn't clear whether it was dangerous or not, and then observe the reactions of the dogs in the experiment. Most of the dogs immediately turned to look at their owners. They weren't looking for food and they weren't crying out for help, they just stared, as if asking, "Is this thing okay?" When the owners acted relaxed, the dogs stepped forward to explore. When the owners seemed anxious, the dogs backed away and stayed alert. Later, the research team replaced the owners with completely friendly strangers who still smiled, signaled reassurance, and followed the exact same protocol. But the dogs no longer reacted accordingly. It wasn't because they didn't understand the cues, it was because the cues were coming from the wrong person. Science calls this phenomenon social referencing. Human infants do the exact same thing when they check their mother's face before touching something new. But with children, that mechanism fades with age. With dogs that have imprinted, it doesn't fade, it just narrows down, and it only applies to one specific person, you. If your dog always glances over at you before deciding to approach or retreat from anything unfamiliar, that's not just a habit. That is their way of handing you the right to define their world. 2. Reading the emotions on your face. Most people think dogs recognize their owner's emotions through their voice. That's true, but it's only a small piece of the puzzle. The rest comes from something you can never actually see yourself without a mirror, your own face. In 2015, scientists at the University of Veterinary Medicine Vienna trained dogs to recognize facial expressions on a screen. To eliminate any subtle cues, the experiment only showed the dogs half of a face, either the top half with the eyes and forehead, or the bottom half with the mouth and chin of completely random strangers in 2 states, happy and angry. The results, published in the journal Current Biology, showed that they accurately distinguished the facial states, even with people they had never met before, or when only seeing half of the face. What does that mean? Dogs don't just memorize specific faces, they learn an entire system of rules for human emotion and then apply it to anyone. And for the person they've imprinted on, that ability is many times sharper because they have thousands of hours of data on your face alone stored in their memory. They know when your smile is genuine and when it's just polite social etiquette. They know how the way you furrow your brow when you're anxious differs from when you're just concentrating. Sometimes, they realize you're sad before you even have a chance to realize it yourself. This isn't just emotional anthropomorphism. This is the result of thousands of years of evolution, precisely engineered to read one single species, humans. 3. Understanding you without a single word. There is a moment that almost every long-term dog owner has experienced but finds incredibly difficult to explain to others. You just think about going for a walk, you haven't stood up, you haven't grabbed the leash, you haven't even looked toward the door yet, your dog is already up, wagging their tail and spinning in circles. They aren't reading your mind. They are reading all of you all at once. A study in Budapest questioned whether dogs respond more to their owner's voice or their body language, and what happens when those two signals conflict with each other. The results showed that they change their behavior most accurately when the owner uses both at the same time, meaning a voice with the right intonation combined with the corresponding body language. On the other hand, when the two signals contradict each other, for instance, a calm voice but a tense body, they get distracted and their reactions become less accurate. This demonstrates that dogs don't just listen, they constantly cross-reference every single signal simultaneously in real time. When a dog has imprinted on you long enough, they build up thousands of records in their memory of how your voice and body connect in every different situation. They know when your footsteps mean you're getting ready to head out versus when you're just getting a glass of water. They know how your voice sounds when you are truly happy compared to when you are just trying to sound happy. You don't even need to finish a sentence. They already understand you halfway through. Number 4. Their brain lights up at the scent of you. In 2015, Gregory Burns, a neuroscientist at Emory University in Georgia, published an experiment that many of his colleagues initially thought was impossible. Observing the brains of dogs inside an fMRI machine fully awake, unsedated, and completely unrestrained. The training took months, but the data gathered was worth every single hour of perseverance. Burns exposed the 12 dogs lying inside the scanner to 4 different scents: the scent of a familiar dog from their household, an unfamiliar dog, a stranger, and a scent extracted from their owner's clothes or skin. The owner's scent alone, without any visual, sound, or physical presence, activated the caudate nucleus, the tail-shaped region in the brain, far more powerfully than any other smell. The caudate nucleus is the brain's reward center and the hub for expecting happiness, the very same region that lights up when a dog sees their favorite treat, gets praised, or plays. Yet, your scent alone triggers it, even when absolutely nothing else comes with it. This is why, when you're away, your dog often burrows into the pile of clothes you left behind or climbs onto the bed to lie exactly where you just got up. That isn't them misbehaving, nor is it just pure anxiety. They are creating a version of you out of scent, so their brain has something to hold on to while you're not there. To them, you aren't just someone they love. You are the literal definition of happiness, in a neurological sense. 5. Carrying your anxiety in their own body. This is the sign that almost no one sees coming. And once you understand the mechanism behind it, you will look at your dog and then at yourself with a completely different perspective. In 2019, Swedish scientists published a study in the journal Nature. They tracked 57 dog owner pairs over several months, focusing on 2 breeds, Border Collies and Shetland Sheepdogs. The measurement method wasn't based on observing behavior, but rather on the concentration of cortisol, the stress hormone, accumulated in the dog's fur and the owner's hair. Fur and hair act as a historical archive for hormones, reflecting a long-term average over months rather than just a fleeting moment. The results showed that the dog's long-term cortisol levels correlated directly with the long-term cortisol levels of their owners. Physical activity was controlled and completely factored out of the equation. It wasn't because of the environment, it wasn't because of the weather, it was entirely due to the psychological bond between the 2 individuals. When you go through a prolonged period of stress, whether it's a work deadline or family pressure, your dog carries that exact same burden inside their own physiology. This isn't a metaphor. It is something measured by machines. This is why this sign is truly concerning if you ignore it. Not because it shows they love you, you've known that for a long time, but because it means your emotional state doesn't just affect you alone. There is a 4-legged friend silently enduring it right alongside you without a single complaint, and you would never know it if you didn't look in the exact right place. How many of these signs does your dog have? And which specific moment made you pause the longest while listening? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. If this channel helped you understand your dog just a little bit better, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to 4Paws Mind so you don't miss out on more scientific insights like this about your 4-legged friend. See you and your furry best friend in the next video.